Okay, I'm just doing this as a video diary just to document my stealth camping journey 2025. And anyone who's following me, I've been thinking about my stealth camping area for a long time. And I just wanted to kind of document this as a video journal like of my area that I have been stealth camping in for a long time. It hasn't changed too much, but it has a little bit. Like this area over here used to be more woodsy. The highway behind me, that's Highway 255. Going that way goes into Du Bois, and going up that way goes into a little place called Penfield. That's the next town up. And beyond that, you got what they call the Valley, which is small towns dotted along the line. And it's a very beautiful area. Oftentimes there are elk that people see, and people in people's front lawns and stuff. People will stop along the road and take pictures of them. And then if you go and turn on Highway 555, you'll go up to Benezet's, and you can see the elk viewing up there. If you keep going straight north on 255, you'll end up in St. Mary's, and beyond that, Johnsonburg, and that's where 255 ends. And then you have to pick up 219, and that takes you straight up to Bradford. And after Bradford, you got New York, and north of that, you got Buffalo. So the road behind me, 255, is kind of like the route that a lot of people take to get up that way. It runs parallel with 219. It's just this one is a little more country, or well, I wouldn't say that. It runs through the valley. And 219, it runs through Brockland, goes on up into Ridgeway, and then Johnsonburg, and that's where 219 and 255 meet. 255 ends, 219 picks up and goes straight north up into New York. But this here is really started it all for Noah in this area. A little swampy, it's not the best, but it's convenient for me because Du Bois is a pretty good location for shopping, so I can get all my little amenities. And though it's not the most attractive place and it's kind of swampy, it really does afford, I guess, a lot of advantages for my stealth camping. There's no one here doing it quite like me. I mean, there's a few homeless people you'll see in town. Usually they hang around for a couple of months or so, and then they disappear. I haven't seen any of them that cared for stealth camping. Whoever owns this property is getting a little more uptight. This person used to be more lenient, and I used to wander on that property all the time, and I never felt like I was crossing any line, so to speak. Years ago, that actually had a house somewhere up in there, and then they ended up tearing that down. So that sure would come in handy. There was another abandoned house up this road, up Coeur d'Alene. The road's name is Coeur d'Alene. They tore that down 2 years ago, maybe 3. And I used to go hang out in there when it was raining or something like that. It was real easy to get in and get out, and nobody could see you, and the door was just basically hanging open or ripped off and off the hinges, so it wasn't like it was B&E or anything. It was just an easy come and easy go, and nobody noticed. Always handy, but that's gone now. So it's a little bit more uptight. The guy that owns this property over here, I think he might own a lot of the property in here. I think he's a little uptight. I was told by him that he is. I was told by others that he is a little uptight. Okay. This here is right there, and I've walked that railroad grid all the way to Interstate 8. It's about a 1.5-mile hike, and it's flooded right now. See that trail? I actually made that a couple years ago. I wonder if I can cross this. Ah, no problem. Right now the deer have widened it, but I actually, no, somebody else has capitalized on what I made. But yeah, up there, that's the top of an old railroad grid that is not used anymore. And this is all part of my stealth camping, stomping grounds. I'm just gonna make this last video for, I'll probably take a break after this because I do have some battery packs. I think I got 3 that are fully charged. There we go, look at this, huh? It's kind of cool. And yeah, that's what it looks like up here. Now you could walk this grid with varying degrees of difficulty because it gets kind of swampy and washed out in certain areas. But you could walk this for close to 2 miles, almost into town. But it goes to an overpass, of Interstate 80 overpass, and I have camped out under that. I call it my secret hideaway. A lot of wild game through here. I'm sure there's black bear. I've seen bobcat. I've seen a bear. Yeah. See, they're trying to turn everything into like a hunting club, and it technically is, but I can see they're planning something here. Like everywhere, it's getting more difficult to live like this. It was far easier a few years ago, but it's still easy enough, you know. I don't think they're too uptight on the railroad grid here, and I don't even know if they can actually own it. I think it's free to use. I can't be sure about that, though. I know there's a couple of houses up over in the direction where my camera is pointed. Hello. I know that this camera is not very good quality, and I know that the sound isn't very good. Sorry about that. I wish I had something better. I'm looking to get a new phone. I can't even make regular videos because my iCloud storage is all jammed up. Even if I delete things, it says that it's jammed up. I can only, every now and then I can film 2 or 3 minutes and upload it, and then it says iCloud full. Even if I delete pictures and videos, and I deleted just about everything I could, you know, stand apart with, I guess, it still says that it's the iCloud is full. And I think what it is when you delete things, it just consolidates it and condenses it down, but it's still somewhere in the iCloud forever, probably. This is a 5-year-old iPhone that my sister gave to me. She sent it to me from another state. She mailed it to me. So she already used it for a while. And then now I'm using it. And I made a lot of videos. If anybody is watching this in the future and you kind of like the content, stealth camping and stuff like that, I got, you know, a playlist of all of my old videos, my favorites of Noah Road's stealth camping videos. Best of Noah Road, I think it's called. So yeah, my channel has been also like a sort of spiritual research channel as well. So I have all sorts of different spiritualities and things that I saved on a playlist that I find not necessarily anything that I would personally subscribe to, but I find spiritual paths of other people, even if it's not my own, I find them inspiring, especially like hermits and nuns and things like that, because I kind of live very similar to a hermit. I don't, you know, espouse to or subscribe to the core doctrine of their beliefs. You know, a lot of the videos that I have in my playlist, but I still, you know, watch them for spiritual purposes and for inspiration. Well, here we are. I'm about 5 miles north of Du Bois here. See, that there is like crazy swampy over there, obviously. And if the speaker, pardon, if the audio wasn't so bad on my live video feed, then you could hear the bullfrogs and birds chirping, but I noticed that nothing like that really shows up. It sucks. I want a new phone. I've just got to buckle down and find a way to come up with some money to get it. And then I would like to start a new YouTube channel. Frankly, I think everything that's been said that can be said has been said. You know what I mean? As far as like the Noah Road journey and stuff. What I'd like to do is shift and make a new channel. Like I say, Noah has been a sort of spiritual research and things. So, I mean, I know this my spiritual path. I do have one, a spiritual bias, and I would really like to start a new channel. Now that road is sure to land where that truck is coming from. And it meanders for about 2.5, 3 miles. And it's coming out by the mall. This road here is called Going Will. And this will lead you into the forest, which is, I don't know, maybe 10 miles up the road here. But it's all wildernessy between here and the state forest. It's a very lovely area. You know, you could easily put up a tarp with a little tent under it in this area. This is definitely private property, but you could sneak in there towards the evening and set up, and then in the morning break it down. You know, you can do that. I try to find places where I camp for weeks, or at least a week or two at a stretch, and I don't like breaking my tent down every day, so I like to find really good spots to stealth camp and just, you know, kind of hope for the best when I leave. Like right now, I have my tent up somewhere, and yeah, somebody could find it. I could probably even get a little bit of a legal jam if somebody wanted to be a real jerk. But that's the chance you take. One thing I recommend, if you're ever anybody that is studying, if they ever do, is get yourself, when you're actually camping and you go to sleep at night, pack yourself a bag like that full of essentials in case you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you got cops sticking flashlights in your face and telling you to get out of your tent. And I hope that never happens to me. And if they are really unreasonable and they actually take you to jail, you can at least say, can you take this bag? And I'm sure they probably would. And, you know, carry the most important things. Like me, my Bible is like a sort of diary almost. It's like you can't even hardly read the thing anymore because it's got so many notes. So I definitely don't want to lose that. So I keep that packed in there. But I also keep a couple pairs of socks, a couple pair of underwear, you know, a little instant coffee, you know, if I had any paperwork, you know, like a important receipt for my storage unit or something, you know, if it wasn't in my wallet, it would be in there, you know, just some basics, you know. And it's right next to me in the tent, and if there was ever a sudden unpleasant awakening where a police officer, you know, came to arrest me or something, which I'm pretty sure I could talk my way out of, because I would be really calm and cool and reasonable and things like that. super respectful. Even if I didn't like them, I would pretend to be more respectful than I actually was of the person. I mean, really, whatever I had to do to survive the encounter is my motto, within obvious reason. But if I couldn't, and I just couldn't reason with them, they wouldn't budge. And I was going to go to jail for something as silly as being a few feet on somebody else's property, then frankly, I don't feel like that's a shameful charge at all. But I would at least have that bag, that, book bag packed with things that I didn't want to lose. And then they could take it in, and because they'll just leave your gear if it's not prepared. And you always got to have, like, I guess you can call a jail bag, or else if a bear started ripping into your tent, and you wanted to grab your stuff and go, at least you could grab that. Because a bear, I've lost a few tents to bear, 3 of them, I think, over the years. And they'll rip everything you got to pieces. So it's really good to take your, something with you when you walk away. I have a habit of walking back and forth on, near my camp, at nighttime, because I don't want to just sit hunker down in a tent. I kind of want to breathe and think and soul search and stuff. That's part of my purpose out here. So I walk back and forth. So I'll have a bag packed just in case there was, like a bear or something that came around. I had I did that once, and I came back and my tent was just ripped to pieces, and a lot of stuff that I liked was bitten and stuff like that. Yeah, crazy. The world is hard. Anyways, this is what it looks like in the area. And it just gets more and more deeper. Like, often I keep walking this way when I go to Clearfield. Clearfield's 20 miles. So it's 20 miles of this stuff. And eventually it gets even more deeper in the woods because it goes into the state forest. And when you get there, you got a lot of spring water. And in the, fall, you got apples dotted along the way, apple trees, I mean. So it's really cool. And then you got, at certain times of the season, you got high bush blueberries and raspberries, and I love that time of year. And then when you get into the towns, it's kind of easy to, they're small up here, and nobody's ruined it yet. So, they have free food boxes, little, people are kind enough to donate food and things like that. And sometimes just kind of advertise that you're homeless. I do sometimes. I'll advertise by the way I look or what I'm carrying, like a little bedroll I'll roll up. I'll carry my small book bag, but I'll roll up a trench coat and make a sling out of a sort of rope that I can, sling over my shoulder, and you can see that I'm carrying like a bedroll. And then I'll put a little sign on the back of my book bag. It'll say acts of kindness appreciated. And I'll just kind of walk around. As I'm walking around town, why not kind of advertise? Maybe somebody will come along and say, hey man, I like your sign, here you go. And I know I do the right thing with it. I'm not doing anything unseemly with the money. So I mean, I genuinely have good motives, about my life and what I'm doing, and my intentions are good, and I'm putting out good energy into the universe, starting with my thoughts. And my behavior and my thoughts can get a little cockeyed and skewed at times, and I can get a little, I don't know, I suppose even dark in the thinking. But that's always usually when I'm in an environment that needs to change. You see that pond right there? You see, if you look at that, it's called a well house. That guy ruined that well house by making that pond. The pond's too small to be of any real use, and it's just getting filled with algae. But that well house was a natural spring. And he could have had an endless supply of free water, and I had at one time years ago before he made this stupid pond, and access to an unlimited supply of free water. I could just run over to it and dip my jug of water down into the well house behind the screen door and grab some great water. But now, because this stupid pond is made, it backs up into that well house, and it's filled with fish and poop and bacteria and everything else, and it's just ruined. I don't know what the heck he was thinking. Whoa, I'm going to make it into a lovely little paradise. And he could have had a lovely, never-ending supply of water if he would have just left that alone instead of making that stupid pond that backs back up into it. Because the pond produces fish and algae, and of course, you know, bowel excretions from the fish and the bacteria and all that stuff, and that creates all this algae. And then it backs up into the well house, which is pure spring water from the ground. It doesn't have all that stuff in it, and it's now ruined. So what a waste. I was so baffled by that. And he doesn't even use it. I've never once seen that guy out on that little pond. And what is he going to do? Get a fish that's too small to eat? It's ridiculous. He really did a very dumb move on that. And it I had spring water right here in this area, and this area is hard to find spring water. I have to go into town. That's the sucky thing. The worst part about this area is there's no natural spring water. I could find one up that railroad grid that I was up on, but it's really kind of low to the ground, and you got to kind of dig out around it, and you get little dirt particles in it. It's not good. But that was a wonderful well house with pure spring water, and it's now ruined. Well, off to another topic. Yeah, I see those well houses and a lot of cabins that are, you know, in the state forest. They have these little hunting cabins that they rent in the state forest. Huh. But yeah, this is Noah Road Stomping Grounds. Like I say, that's Sure to Lynn. That's about, it's a lot longer to go to town that way because it meanders, but it ends up in the same place as Highway 255 up here does. It just takes you, it's a part of Du Bois. It's called Sandy Township. We're in Sandy Township right now, technically. They do have a state trooper office that moved in, unfortunately, on Platte Road, which is at the other end of this road. Where this road ends, it turns into either Home Camp Road or Platte Road. Down Platte Road there, really close to, you know, the mall and all that stuff, toward Du Bois, they got a state trooper's office. Now that used to be in Fall Creek, a few miles away. And about 10 years, was it 10? Probably not even 10. About 7 or 8 years ago, they moved here. And I used to be able to stick my thumb out on the on-ramp and just go to different towns up the I would sometimes hitchhike to Clearfield or hitchhike to Brookville. And they have a funny hitchhiking law in Pennsylvania. It's just a bunch of bureaucratic nonsense. They make you stand at the very top of the on-ramp, where it's actually more dangerous, by the way, instead of going down by the sign that says, you know, pedestrians prohibited sign, which is, you know, maybe 100 feet, you know, where you're nice and safe and you're off of the, you know, you're on the side of the road. You're on the shoulder, which is a wide shoulder. It's wide enough for a semi to pull over. That they don't want. They want you to be up at the top of the on-ramp in Pennsylvania, and you can't tell which direction you're going. So you've got to have a sign and hope that somebody is kind enough to kind of take a moment to read and not stupid enough to stop right where they turn real fast on ramp. So yeah, it's a very dumb law, and it should for sure be changed. It's bureaucratic nonsense out of Harrisburg, you know. Every single state you go to is going to have good, and then they're going to have some stupid stuff that you hate. Overall, this is the best area of the country for me that I could find, and it works the best for me. But good grief, they've got new laws that are just dumb. That being probably the worst. But good people around here overall, and compared to the national average, it's certainly more affordable. And Pennsylvania's got some very tough areas, some very, very bad areas that might be very pretty or very attractive, but they're very tough. I would love to go down to Aliquippa and, you know, McKeesport and places like that around Pittsburgh. It's really pretty down there. Really, you got the still remains of the steel mill industry, which they got a little bit of it still left, but most of it's been kind of shut down. And there's a lot of, I don't know, like you kind of consider them, I guess, slums, really cool looking areas. And, like, but they're all poor now because all of the steel industry is shut down. I would love to go down there and check a lot of those places out. Great stealth camping for sure. But the problem is there's so much crime, and down there, you got a lot of abandoned houses I could crash in, but then you got the criminals running around. So Pennsylvania's bag. You got really cool places, but they got some tough criminal elements in them. But then you got areas like this, and it's a little tough. There's not a lot of help. Like the only reason I've been able to hang here so long is because I invested in a storage unit, and whenever I had money, I kind of make an investment in time and keep it paid off a year more in advance. And I'd stuff it with survival gear, because you have tarps and rope and backpacks and shoes and socks, and you got to have totes full of that kind of stuff. And when you have that kind of a setup, and as long as you got the right instincts, and as long as the area resonates with you, then you can kind of make a go at it with the stealth camping around here, and it's pretty good. But you got to be able to have instincts. You got to be able to handle it, and you got to walk a lot. You got to have the strength to walk a lot. There's a lot of walking, doing a lot of things yourself, and accepting that there just is a lot of help, But if you go to the places where there's help, and then everything is like it's like a homeless sting operation industry almost, to kind of find out who and where you are, and then they kind of like make laws against you. I don't know. It's so much worse. I would rather, be in an area like this where there might be less help from little, I don't know what they would. I'm just left on my own and to myself here, but so in some ways it's a little tough. There's more walking involved. There's more, do it yourself involved. See, now this is the straight shot, but it's just a better area. So I have a lot more freedom here because I'm the only one out here doing it. Now, if all of a sudden the tent city started popping up because it was kind of nice, if everybody kind of had this idea, it wouldn't last long before I'd have to get out of here, because then they'd clamp down, because the town has a right to defend itself, right? Now right over here we got a creek, Sandy Lick Creek, and this is one of my areas. I have a lot of areas where I take my baths and stuff. I kind of like this. I definitely recommend a pair of swimming shoes. Better safe than sorry. Now that I hate to see. All those beautiful trees. Where did they come from? Where are they cutting now? Anyways, yeah, down there I'll go And I recommend this hemp-based natural soap. I've just been using that, and it doesn't harm the ecology, I think they call it, right? It doesn't harm the environment or the fish or anything like that. Well, I'm going to just keep walking. I don't have a lot of battery power, and I don't have access to electricity. So I guess I'm just gonna, I just wanted to say hi, leave this as a sort of video diary, memories and all that. And, you know, just kind of show people like my environment. I mean, I've been doing this around since 2012. And then I would get a roommate situation for a few months and then go back out for a few months. And I stayed out for almost 3 years once, you know, and then I get an apartment for a few months, heal up, because you got to do that once in a while. If I was out here 100% of the time since 2012, I probably would have, you know, passed away, or else I'd be physically debilitated, because you can't do it all the time. If you do it for short bursts, it can actually make you in shape, as long as you're not drinking and drugging and carrying the wrong way, and you make, you know, health a priority. And as long as you get in shape when you are off of the road. Like, I'll spend time in the gym instead, just so I can, like, I know in about a month or so, I'm gonna have to spend a couple months in the gym sometime this summer, toward the end of summer, just to make sure that I'm okay through the winter, in case I get stuck out here and I can't find an apartment or something like that. If something doesn't work out for me as winter's rolling in and I have to push through the entire winter, you know, stealth camping, I better be in shape. So at one point I will find I'll probably go up to St. Mary's, and then I will go and find a good stealth camp location, and then I will get a gym membership and I will start working out at the gym. Yeah, they're doing a little work on this bridge right here. That's going to be done in no time. In case anybody's wondering, what are they doing? Is it like that all the time? No, it's not like that all the time. They've been working on it for maybe 2 weeks. There's a bridge. I don't know. They're getting a bunch of funds to do bridge work. I notice a lot of bridges are being worked on this summer. So, well, I'm not sure where I'm going to walk, but I don't want this to be too long, because I want people to watch it, you know, maybe in the future. If it's too long, gosh, who wants to watch a 2-hour video or whatever, you know? But also because I just don't have access to electricity. You know, I still got some battery packs that are charged, but pretty soon I'm gonna, you know, these videos are gonna become less and less frequent. And the goal actually is to get a new phone where the iCloud is all nice and fresh, and then I can make regular videos again. And I would actually like to make videos that are more spiritual. And kind of say hi once in a while on Noah Road, but, you know, I don't say, you know, this is kind of cool, showing off the area. This is really where it started for me here in Pennsylvania. Once I got that storage unit, you know, in the area, started stocking it up. Whenever I got money, I'd put supplements in it and survival gear in it and extra clothes and stuff. Socks are really important, you know, backpacks or book bags even, you know, ropes and tarp, light tents, and you find them, you know, over the years. And then when you do, you just put them in the storage unit, stock it away. Even if I have an I'll put something in the storage unit, I'll say that's for the storage unit. And I kind of build that up over the years. And when I know I'm getting like less than a year from the time that I, you know, run out of storage unit time, when the lease is about up, I'm like, boy, I better drum up some more money and get another year paid off, you know. So I'm really sharp on that. And I've been doing that since 2012. Actually, I think I got the storage unit in November of 2011. I expected to keep it for like 6 months. But Bennett's Valley. See, that's Valley. It's around 10 miles north of here. You got what they call Bennett's Valley. About 5 or 6 really tiny towns that are dotted along what they call the valley. And this highway right here runs to it. And when you go up towards St. Mary's, you're out of the valley because it rises up. Yeah, this is kind of a cool area here. I've camped out over here, good stealth camping here, because the ground is nice and dry. And he comes here, it's attached to a hunting club, and anybody who would stealth camp in this area has got to be a little aware of hunting seasons, that's for sure. That is one thing that you need to tip yourself off on, is, you know, the real big hunt season is either late November or December. It varies a little bit every year. The deer is the big one. The hunt rifle deer, it's almost like going out in Vietnam. They even give people days off of work for deer hunting. It's so big around here. But then they got, you know, archery in, I think it starts in late September probably. They have small game, but it's not that big of a deal. You usually don't see a lot of people out doing it. This property here is temporarily being used by those people working on that bridge that we just passed. But ordinarily, nothing is going on here, and it's been like that for, since I've been around, since 2011, you know what I mean? Well, I'm running out of battery time here, and I'm gonna have to charge, and got so many battery packs, and then I have to go all the way into town to a park and sit there for hours to charge. So if somebody is watching this in the future and they don't see me making a video for, you know, a couple of weeks or a month, I mean, it's just the fact that no battery power, you know, I don't want to waste, I want to use phone for, you know, Google or the clock, you know, and I just don't want the phone to die out. And like I sure wish that the audio was good. I mean, the audio's good, not good, and the video is very shaky on this phone when it comes to the live format. I'm not sure why. It's fine when it's not live, but when it's live, you could barely hear me, or you can't hear birds or frogs in the background. This here is real serious Noah Road stealth camp stomping grounds right here. There's a lot of beautiful birds chirping. It's very peaceful, even though there's a little bit of drizzle today, tiny bit more humid than I would like. Yesterday I took a full bath. One of these days I'll kind of like show a area where I bathe, just the area. Now look at that right there. You could easily set a camp right in there. Who the heck's gonna see you? It's great stealth camping, and the ground is really good because this is what the ground is made out of. Look at that. That ain't gonna flood out from underneath you. I mean, it'd be good to grab a couple pieces of cardboard from a gas station down the road or something like that, tuck it under your arm after you get your, you know, your camp set up, and then put it underneath your sleeping bag, of course, you know, because you don't want to get it moist. There's going to be condensation under your sleeping bag. That's always a problem. If you're just sleeping under a tarp, when I'm just sleeping under a tarp and the ground's a little bit on the moist side, I'll cut pine boughs, spruce pine boughs, and I will lay them under. I'll make a bedding out of it, and then that'll keep me up off of the ground if I don't have any cardboard or anything. I don't bring the pine boughs into a tent because it'll, you know, the needles will kind of poke tiny little holes in the bottom of the tent, you know. But if I'm just under a tarp, which I do just camp under a tarp sometimes, and I don't use it, I will just put some pine boughs and stack them up about 6 or 8 inches deep. And lay on that night. Okay, well, this is going to be the last thing I show you. We're still about a mile and a half from Sandy Township, where there's, you know, stores and stuff like that. It's a small community, but there is a small mall, like an old mall, that hasn't been upgraded since the 70s, you know. And some fast food joints, and there's a nice cemetery that I walk around. Yeah, there's just access to the town from there, and from the town of Du Bois, it's even further. But yeah, look at this ground here. See this block? Old Noah Road sat many hours, many different nights, looking up at the stars. When I look up at the stars, I'm like, there ain't no way this is just some kind of an accident, man. The stars will tell you, just by looking at them, that there's something going on with creation. And with that said, I'm going to have to save some battery power. And may anyone who watches this in the future, or you, anyone else that's watching, may you all be blessed. Noah Road, over and out.